The man drew the outline of an airplane on the open ground with a pen. In the next second, the purple smoke dissipated. A real airplane appeared before them. Then the man pulled the control lever. He successfully took his companions into the sky. His goal was to find his creator. Originally, the man was a child living in a two-dimensional world. Anything he drew could become real. One day, Harold became curious about who created him. At that moment, a voice came from the sky. The voice told Harold that his creator was in the real world. This made Harold extremely curious. He drew a door leading to the three-dimensional world. But his friends, the reindeer and the porcupine, were afraid of the door, so Harold went through the door first. He successfully arrived in the real world. The real world shocked Harold. Just as he was heading to a convenience store to change into new clothes, the reindeer followed him. He was shocked to find that after passing through the door, he had turned into a human. Next, the porcupine also passed through the door. She was also amazed by her new body. The porcupine's exaggerated actions attracted a little girl nearby.
Hi, I'm Porcupine.
I'm a bunny.
No way!
Meanwhile, the reindeer and Harold had reunited, but they couldn't find the porcupine anywhere, so Harold drew a bicycle. They decided to ride the bicycle to search for the porcupine. However, not understanding traffic rules, Harold unfortunately crashed into a car. The car owner, Kelly, immediately decided to take Harold and the reindeer to the hospital. At that moment, she discovered that her tire was damaged. Just as she was calling the repair company, Harold had already drawn a tire. Kelly was very puzzled, but she still replaced the tire first. During their conversation, Kelly realized that Harold and his friends had no place to stay, so she kindly let them stay for the night. The next day, during a conversation, Kelly's son Jack learned that Harold's goal was to find his father, so he decided to skip school to help Harold. They first went to the library and found a librarian named Gary. Harold gave Gary 2 keywords.
Old man, planet Earth.
But because the keywords were too vague, they had to filter through 500 million people. Helpless, Harold had no choice but to leave the library. He arrived at an open space downstairs. He drew an airplane with his crayon and successfully took off. Seeing this magical scene, Gary immediately thought of a book. It was Harold and the Purple Crayon, but by then, Harold had already set off. They had a great time in the sky. That night, Gary successfully met up with Harold. He handed the comic book to Harold. Just as Harold was delighted to have found a clue, an animal's cry interrupted their conversation. Harold was surprised to find that the porcupine had also come to the real world. Before they could celebrate their reunion, a group of police officers arrived and arrested them. It turned out that the porcupine had just stolen food from a dessert shop, and the police believed that Harold and the reindeer were accomplices. The police confiscated Harold's crayon. To be able to escape from prison, the porcupine distracted the police while new prisoners were being brought in. Then the reindeer quickly stole the crayon back and returned it to Harold. Fearing that the police would enter the cell to punish them, Harold drew a lock on the door. Then Harold drew a giant pendulum that smashed through the prison wall.